What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Seoulweaver Podcast. I am your host, Will Brooks, and as always, I am coming to you from right smack dab in the middle of Seoul with yet another episode, Prepisode, probably one of the last Prepisodes of the Seoulweaver Show, the Seoulweaver Webcast, and whatever name I'm going to end up calling this. I was thinking about Once Upon a Time or Once Upon Last Week in Iraq, but like it's so long that I already messed it up in the first place. Like even just saying it for the first time ever. So am I gonna mess like do I want that long title? I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about it. That's something I'm on the fence about. I'm a little distracted at the moment because I got a new setup here. And if you've heard me, if you've caught a few of the episodes and all these prepisodes that I'm doing in preparation of the actual launch, then you know that my area gets revamped from time to time, and it's like it's always a step up in the way. Like when I got this mic, it was a step up because the mic quality is better, but then the mic, like the breath of which the mic picks up is a lot more, and you can hear like different sounds in a room. So I got to change something, and every time I change something for the better, I think I think I got it straight, I think I got it good, and I end up doing some, there's just some part that I didn't consider until I sat down here and did the show. And like, to be honest, I sat down here when I set this all up. I sat down and I said, "Hey, everything looks like it's gonna be good." But I guess my eyes were working better that way or that day because now I can't see my notes. Or maybe I made the font. I made the font smaller. I get it. I know what I did. Yeah, I made the font smaller so I could fit more on the screen. So anyway, there's just a few things that I need to work out, get hashed out, get fixed up, and get fine tuned. So I'm still gonna be in prepisode mode probably for two more prepisodes or two more sessions, two more Thursdays, 2 more weeks, however we want to look at it. In any case, you guys probably don't care about that. You're like, hey man, as long as you're doing it, what difference does it make if you're in prepisode mode or not in prepisode mode? And the thing is, prepisode mode is just me making sure I do the show no matter what. So you'll notice today I'm a little under the weather, my throat's a little scratchy and things like that, but I just want to jump on and do the show every Thursday and stay as, regardless of what the quality of the show will be, I feel as though it's a personal thing, right? I guess because in my head I'm still in prepisode mode, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Although I just need to find another excuse when I go live, like live with the show, of why it's not perfect. And until I figure that out, I guess I'll be in prepisode mode. In any case, I hope you guys had a great weekend. We are back already facing another one, coming up on another one. We got a few events we're going to talk about today. This weekend was a lot. There was a lot going on. I had a busy, I don't think, there was a lot going on, but it wasn't a lot for me going on. I had a neighbor of mine call me up, and we were going to kind of chill out, drink some beers, and sit down and watch a documentary. And then we went, and when I called him up and said, "Hey, what you getting into?" He had like all these great plans. He was gonna go, hang out at the spa and then go down to Chunju and check out the Hanok village down there, the traditional Korean village. And I was like, man, that all sounds great. And then he was gonna go to he said he was gonna go to the Lantern Festival. I said, man, I want to go to the Lantern Festival too. But it sounds crowded. Last time we were at the Lantern Festival, it was packed, yo. And this old lady, we think, tried to steal Uni's wallet out of her backpack. And like it was that pack where you could reach in somebody's bag and they couldn't tell that you were reaching in their bag unless they happened to turn around and see you reaching in, because we were just that smushed in there. But I did see pictures of the Lantern Festival this week or this year, and it doesn't look that crowded, or it doesn't look as crowded as it was that day. It's still crowded. It's still the Lantern Festival. If you want to check that out, be sure to head on to, what is that, Cheongnan? I didn't even put it in the site or the events, upcoming events. I'll find a link for that, put that in the events to show you guys how to get there and things like that. I've been made aware that I'm not the best tour guide, so I'm gonna try to get better at that. In any case, let me jump on over to what happened this week, because that's what we want to talk about. And the podcast again is not prepped, not ready, not even. I had an idea for a podcast and I just didn't get to like jot things down to go over it. And then I got a good excuse. An earthquake happened, and I was like, maybe I should talk about earthquakes. So we actually had an earthquake, and I guess I can show you a few pictures from the damage on here. An earthquake actually occurred here down south here in South Korea. And the reason earthquakes are a big deal is because they don't really happen that often. In fact, I'm willing to bet the first 10 years I was here, I was here from May of '01 to December of 2010, and there were no earthquakes. You didn't hear about any earthquakes, and people were saying it's just a known fact there's not a lot of earthquakes in Korea. And I used to wonder, like, how is Japan on that ring of, is it ring of, not ring of fire or something like it? It is, maybe it is ring of fire. Like, Japan is on that ring where they get earthquakes all the time, and Korea is fairly close and does not experience earthquakes. And then suddenly, when I came back this time, there was just earthquakes happening rather often, particularly down south in where this one occurred. This was in Pohang, I think. Oh, why did I not get the details? I don't even think it was, maybe not Pohang, but it was down south at the southern, what is that? Southern east, southeast section right there, kind of off the coast. I actually felt this one, man. Like, I was sitting in my office, and I got a boy named Butch that will come in there and like scare me when it's super quiet. Yeah, because we're super mature at work. But he'll come in when there's nobody in the office and like do something to just get my attention, right? So I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, hey, I feel my desk suddenly start shaking. And I was like, Butch. And I get up and nobody's in the office. Like, I'm in there by myself. And I was like, man, that's kind of scary. I don't think I bumped the desk or anything like that. Why did it move like that? And then as soon as I get back to my desk, alerts are going off on my phone. I'm getting a call from my wife, and she's like, "Did you feel that?" And I was, "You felt it too." Okay, I'm not crazy. Like, I'm sane. And it was like an actual, it was an earthquake that from down south. Like, if you were stationary and quiet, then you probably felt it here in Seoul. And so my mother-in-law, my wife said they felt it here, and they were flipping out. But it looks like you can see the damage that it did. I hope you can see the damage that it did down south there. I don't even want to mess around with the construction right now. I don't even want to mess around with the picture right now because, like, I couldn't make it. Yeah, where is everything at? I could make it bigger, but then I can't see it to like get it down smaller to be the right size. Sorry, but I'll shoot. If you want to see more pictures, I'm going to share an actual, what is it? The slideshow in the Seoulweavers Facebook group. So join us in the Facebook group. You'll see them there. See what kind of damage occurred there. And people were kind of really panicking about what was going on. Since things aren't built for earthquakes, let me back up really quick. So I actually would go into detail about earthquakes and the concern here in Korea, because you can imagine since there aren't that many, they're not really prepared for them to happen. But I did do a deep, in-depth podcast episode about that. That link is in the description, and it kind of goes into my main concerns. I'm going to go over those really briefly now, and then we're going to move on off the podcast onto some current event shows or current events that I wanted to talk about here tonight. But yeah, earthquakes, as I was saying, since they haven't happened here in a long time, or they don't happen here very often, the infrastructure isn't really built so strongly or so intently around them. Right? Like, the buildings aren't necessarily built to withstand earthquakes of a certain magnitude. And lately they've been getting bigger, or the earthquakes have become more frequent, and they've gotten larger in magnitude. They're just bigger earthquakes. And so when the pictures I was looking at, the pictures you can see here, it starts off with everything in the stores like knocked off the shelves. I don't know if you follow us on Facebook or on Instagram, but you saw me put a post of a bunch of you may have seen me put a post of a bunch of glass plates just stacked up just there, and like if an earthquake were to hit, all those would fall down. Like, things aren't even stacked in places of business to prevent like it from falling down an earthquake, because it's assumed that it'll never happen. And so you see the aisles of the supers and all that are all torn up because everything fell off the shelves. But then you go to the pictures outside and you see actual concrete slabs that fell off of the buildings above onto cars and onto things down on the street on the main level, because things again just aren't designed to withstand earthquakes. And it's kind of funny, it's kind of interesting, because there's an actual earthquake guide, or there's an actual standard to build buildings so they withstand earthquakes. But the thing is, when the standard or when a threat doesn't seem real to people, they tend not to follow the standards. So it's like, why do I have to build, spend extra money to make this building this, withstand this mythical event that will never happen? And so you get a little, sometimes you find buildings that were built, below the standard that were supposedly built up to standard. And then there's also, if I remember correctly, and you can go back and check out the old podcast episode, but there's also a standard to go and inspect buildings and make sure during the building process, during the construction process, that those buildings are built to a certain standard. And there really I don't have a warm and fuzzy that happens. I'm sure that, since it's not a real, quote unquote, not a real threat, there's a chance that people are just checking off on that, signing off on that, and taking people out to eat samgyeopsal and do whatever to get their mind off of the fact that their building is not built to that code. I don't know. That's assumptions, and I haven't seen anything that's corroborated that. But you just kind of see the way things work when it's not a pressing issue. So I would be surprised to see people actually doing everything that they say they're doing to build in a way of earthquakes. Another thing I brought up is like the emergency relief in the event that something terrible happens. And this kind of goes for any natural disasters, right? Like if you imagine, like when I see a Korean emergency vehicle trying to get through Seoul traffic, all I could think of is like, wow, like people back in the day, people didn't even move to the side. Like they said, I don't have anywhere to move, so I'm just not going to move. I'm not even going to try. These days, I see, maybe it's because the infrastructure is built a lot larger and a lot just built with things into consideration. I actually see people moving to the right to let emergency vehicles get through. But my concern is that first responders won't be able to react the way they're supposed to because they just don't have those mechanisms in place. I don't think they do those, like the earthquake test. Like, you got fire drills for the fires, for the fire departments. When there's a fire, it's really serious here in Korea, and they go and take care of things right away. So I hope that first responders have that earthquake training. I don't know. I just wouldn't imagine that they do because earthquakes don't happen that often. I will, however, mention that the last time I talked about this, I think it was in April of 2015, maybe. And earthquakes have been happening a lot more often since then. So there may have been a lot of things being stepped up since we first got that first group of earthquakes in 2015. It might even be 2014. But yeah, like first responders, like I really worry about them, like knowing what to do, knowing how to best handle things. I didn't have a chance to read up on how things went down in, I'm not even going to say where it was because I can't even remember. Like, I don't want to say the wrong city the whole time. I believe it was, I'm sure it was Pohang. Those earthquakes last time, those group of earthquakes that were happening over and over again, they were happening down in Ulsan. And I remember, a friend of mine has family down there, and they were just going through it down there because things just weren't designed for the ground to be shaking around. And then the last thing I'll worry about is that people don't really know how to react. I mean, so I'm from California. If I see an earthquake taking place, I would hope, since I haven't seen it in a long time, I would hope my reaction would be to either get under something, just respond the way you're supposed to respond. Get under a table or get in the doorway. Used to be what we used to do at home. Now, I don't know like how much a doorway would help you here in Korea, where everything's built of concrete, or where a lot of things are built of concrete. Because one of my biggest nightmares is to be in my parking garage in my apartment building and have an earthquake hit and have the building actually collapse. I don't think it would, but if it did, I'd be just like I would hate to be like alive, buried under 25 floors of concrete and whatever else is in steel and whatever else is in our building. That would just be the worst way to go. And to be like in the dark down there, just, oh God, I don't even want to think about it. So the earthquakes are a big deal. And then you look at what happened in Japan in 2012. God, I don't even know if that's the year it happened. But the tsunami that hit, I did a bad job of taking my notes now. But that's the tsunami that hit down at that time. Maybe that was 2000. It actually caused more problems with the nuclear reactors that we're still facing today, that Japan is still having a hard time containing today. It's not easy to contain. It's a nuclear reactor. So all that nuclear waste gets out into the ocean and just spreads, and it was a disaster. So the number one concern that people had here in Korea when in this last earthquake, since it's down south where there are a lot of nuclear reactors, and there are a lot of old nuclear reactors. They were hoping it wasn't, a scenario like that movie, the Korean movie Pandora, really good movie by the way. They were hoping it wasn't a situation like that where the nuclear reactors have damage going on. So you saw a lot of reports saying that the nuclear reactors down there were unaffected, which was great news. So that earthquakes are a bit scary. Just anything that's out of the ordinary is a bit scary here in Korea. Koreans are really, really good at handling things that they encounter all the time. So they get efficient over and over again. I remember thinking back in the day, I used to see monsoon season come around and I'd be like, why does it flood all the time? If you know the rains are going to be heavy this time of year, just prepare for it. But in the 10 years or in the 15 years that I've been here, the damage and the reactions that I saw and realize this was right here the whole time. The reactions and the damage that I saw in the first couple of years I was here compared to what I see now, it's like 300% turnaround, a 300% improvement on how things get handled. It just depends on where you are. So, if it's something that happens all the time, I think the Korean mentality, the Korean preparation is like, okay, it happens all the time. Let's go ahead and handle it. Versus if it's something that isn't usually hitting here, like infectious diseases like MERS, they kind of struggle with how to react to new things or things that are out of the ordinary. So earthquakes are a big concern of mine. I don't know what to think. I actually read somewhere that earthquakes actually hit South Korea a lot. Like there's like this record of 300 earthquakes a year or something like that from times of ancient. I don't know what that means. Like maybe plate tectonic plates like shifted around or something like that. They alternate every so often. Just an uncomfortable situation. But yeah, nothing really. I didn't hear any really catastrophic numbers down in where the earthquake took place. So I guess it was okay. So that's enough earthquake talk. If you want like details on what I was talking about, like actual locations and things, check out the link in the description. If you want details on what I mentioned in a previous podcast, you just head over and listen to that podcast because there's a lot about earthquakes and my major concerns with earthquakes in them. Like I actually have like referenced articles and things like that to show what agencies are in charge of making sure that all these buildings are up to standard and what those representatives of those agencies said. So you can check that out at that link in the description. So let's jump on over to the current events segment. So go ahead and close out the podcast. I gotta figure out a way to do this. Like close out the podcast. Like say thanks everybody else for following me or thanks everybody for listening. And then jump into the next segment. This is why we're still in Prepisode mode. So let's jump into things that happened over the weekend concerning Trump, North Korea, South Korea, and everything that happens. And this tweet that Trump responded to Kim Jong-un, I wish he had done it just 2 days. It seemed like it happened like the day after I did the show. But it was like, yo, what is going on? So this Trump got wind that after the North Koreans heard his speech to South Korean Parliament, which I mentioned in the last episode, and after they heard that, and I talked about that speech a little bit, and how it was unmessaged because it was directed at North Korean leadership, not North Korea as a country. He was attacked, obviously. There was verbal attacks on him, and actually, I guess they called him a senile, or they called him an old man, or something like senile old man. It was a shot that North Korea would take, right? But Trump's response was pretty. It made me laugh. I hate to say it, but it made me laugh. Like, why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh well, I try to be his friend. I tried hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen. So that's his little side-handed. I like that. I don't know. That is something that is why people can follow this guy and be amused by him, because he knows how to appeal to the human. Like, you got. Like, I almost wanted to reply to this and be like, burn. Like, it was just ridiculous. But like, you don't need this person to be president. Like, you just need him to be on TV where you can laugh at him and everybody he's interacting with, not running a country. And the reason I say that, and I'm gonna go back and forth here a little bit. There was a lot of back and forth with North Korean news last week, a lot anyway. But I'm gonna go back and forth here a little bit because I did say that Trump was on message, and I was happy that he was again talking about North Korean leadership, not North Korea as a whole, not just totally destroy North Korea, not the country, but people who are well versed and well known in the behavior of North Korea, idealism, North Korean politics, who are aware of the situation on North and South Korea. Those, I think there's an expert at Yonsei that chimed in this article, and an expert, or actually a journalist that is actually in North Korea while this was happening. And they say that, it might not be like this rhetoric is more upsetting to North Korea, to Pyongyang as a whole, than it is for that fire and fury rhetoric. And so it's pretty. I go back and forth on this, and so all they're saying is that it's more upsetting to Pyongyang than saying that you're gonna destroy. They're gonna face fire and fury because you're making a direct attack on their leadership, and their leadership is their divinity. It's not like attacking the leader of another country where other people will look at him and say, "Oh, he's attacking that guy." Well, he's not talking about me. He's talking about our country's leader. Our country's leader can deal with that. No, like in a way, they're talking about the major figure in their religion, and so it's probably more easier than I realized to rally people around insults of Kim Jong Un than it is to around people around threats to them as a whole. And that's really, and so you'll hear me kind of go back and forth on stuff sometimes, man. Like you'll hear me, because what do I really know, right? I'm just giving you my opinion, and that's only influenced from my time being here. It's been a long time, but I don't know everything. And so you might hear me, you're not going to hear me, you'll hear me stand by what I said, but you won't hear me really commit 100% to what I said. Maybe it's not a good idea to just make sure that you're attacking the leadership of North Korea, that you're directing your rhetoric at the leadership of North Korea instead of the country as a whole. That being said, maybe if you're saying something that's really upsetting North Korea, you're saying the right thing, because that's what really that's the direction they don't want you to go in, right? Like they're kind of showing their hand. They don't want you to veer off in that direction. Maybe, I don't know, but I would be. And so I think, what does it actually say here? So I'm gonna just zoom in on this so I can make sure I touch on this the way they say it in the actual article. It says Trump, who was no more than, this is North Korea's response. I don't want to read that just yet. Hold on a second. Yeah, they say the rhetoric is more insulting than a fire and fury rhetoric, but they basically said that people. Gosh, I cut and pasted the wrong thing. It said Trump, who was no more than an old slave of money, dared point an accusing finger at the sun, and that's kind of like when they say the sun, it's not S-O-N, it's S-U-N. Like Kim Jong Un is their son, and that kind of gives you an idea of what like it gives you the idea of the mind job that they're doing over there, and it's why a couple of weeks ago the highest ranking North Korean defector said you have to do like information warfare with North Korea. You can't just like sit there and blast out and say this is what's going on. You have to like get information to the population, the citizenry, and make sure they know that or make them realize that what they've been taught is in fact not true. That Kim Jong Un does in fact poop and did not shoot 3 bullets into a bullseye when he was a baby before he could even walk, or whatever the story is. But yeah, some people so these guys are saying that, needless to say, Korea like backlash to this actual tweet. The North Korean backlash was huge, massive, and so in state media they hurled insults at Donald Trump. And I even saw one article that I didn't cut and paste into here, but I saw one article that said I don't know, there's like death threats to Donald Trump. He's signed his own death warrant. Oh yeah. What's it say? He should know that he is just a what's it? Hideous cranefall. I can't read that. Sentenced to death by the Korean people. He will be forced to pay dearly for his blasphemy at any moment. I can read, guys. It's just far away. I can't barely see it. So that's basically what you're getting. Like that's the North Korean state media blasting things out. It's so funny. I also mentioned 4 weeks ago that North Korea was looking to set up a back channel with somebody who knows the way Trump thinks. And so they're like reaching out to these guys from the Heritage Foundations, trying to set up a back channel with Trump because they're having a hard time understanding him. But they understood this. Like they got this. They were like, oh, this we get. No, we mad. Just go ahead and go after him and start slamming them on state media because they understand. They can understand sarcasm real well. Kim Jong-un actually had sarcasm outlawed in North Korea or something like that. I wonder what people were saying around him that made him outlaw sarcasm. So yeah, man, freaking, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't with North Korea. And here's the thing: people were saying, hey, attacking the leadership of North Korea isn't a good way to go. They may be right, but here's the deal: Trump is not ever going to be more diplomatic or employ some kind of diplomacy that's going to calm Kim Jong-un down. If he ever does, he'll just turn it around like the next day. So him being diplomatic, man, if he can stay on message and just make it to where he has a problem with the leadership and in the way the leadership is running that's just not his taste. I was going to say the way the leadership is running the country, but he kind of wants people to run a country the way they want to. I don't know. Just I'm sure if Kim Jong-un would stop threatening America, Donald Trump really wouldn't have a problem with him because he doesn't have. You can tell by the way he reacts with Saudi Arabia, the way he reacted with the president of the Philippines during his trip. He doesn't really have a problem with human rights violations the way normal presidents of the United States have a problem with human rights violations. So really, if he just calm down, I don't think he would get much of a problem out of Trump. Or I don't think he would get much in response from Trump if he stops with the threats. And it's crazy. So many things happen with North Korea. Among one was an article that happened, or that I saw, where North Korea traded a bunch of missiles for tractors, and it showed Kim Jong-un, like in a tractor. And I was like, well, I wonder, is this some kind of de-escalation method or something like, or maybe are they actually de-escalating a little bit? Are things kind of getting normal? I don't think so, because we saw more articles where North Korea said they were going to stick with their nuclear plan, which I think you say on paper or you say in media, no matter what, at this point. Another thing that looked like a positive this weekend was the confirmation of the 4 no's on North Korea by the State Department. And let me see if I can get this right for you guys. And the 4 no's are like no regime change, no regime replacement. What is it? And it's not all that great to see. I mean, it's not all that impressive to see the list of no's or to see the State Department chime in and say something like, we've confirmed the list of no's. But it's at least that's a plan. Like you see, they said they have a strategy. This is the strategy to stick with South Korea and confirm these 4 no's. And I still don't have the list of no's. That's in his article. No regime change, no regime replacement. It's only like 4. Okay, yeah. The U.S. State Department said it will not seek the collapse of North Korea, a regime change, accelerated reunification, which I was like, they don't want accelerated reunification? But I guess that means one of the Korean governments has to go. So no, we don't want accelerated reunification of the Korean Peninsula or an excuse to bring U.S. troops north of the 38 parallel. So those are the 4 no's. No seek of collapse of North Korea, no regime change, no reunification accelerated, and no U.S. soldiers north of the 38 parallel. And seeing those four no's, I mean, again, seeing those four no's confirmed by the State Department is great. It's like, okay, well, good, but we also heard the U.S. president say like his word is the only one that matters. So even if he feels like we're gonna do something other, even though he like only Congress can declare war, but he can get away with doing some. I'm sure like the presidents can get away with doing some pretty sometime stuff. I know Obama got away with like almost declaring war, basically declaring war without going through Congress in a couple of cases. So the idea that Obama can do it and Trump can't is ridiculous. I don't know what to say about that. So I don't know. Positive thing again, up and downs the whole time, the whole week with North Korea news, and I guess that will be what life is from now on. So I am happy to stop talking about North Korea. Oh no, I'm not. One more thing. So one thing I don't want this to be a show where I spend so much time in North Korea, but every time I look at something, it's like it gets like more and more bizarre, and it's like I gotta talk about this. So we want to talk about this North Korean defectee, right? And we've been talking about defectors for probably the past 4 weeks straight, because it's just been news after news for North Korean defectors. Like more people are defecting, and this defection here is a bad sign. Uni kind of chimed in on it while we were talking, while I was looking it up, or while I was putting in my notes, and she said it's a bad sign because it's a defection through the JSA, and the JSA is a joint service area or joint service area. It's the JSA is where you have like North Korean troops on one side and South Korean troops on the south side, and everybody is just kind of stationed there, looking at each other all day, every day. And you would think it's a bad place to defect because anybody running over or any rounds coming over, because that's what happened with this guy. Anybody running across the JSA is really like threatening to kick things off at the JSA, like threatening to be a big event at the JSA. So this North Korean defector is a North Korean soldier. North Koreans actually fired 40 shots at him as he was running across. They hit him 5 times. That is like that is crazy. Like I wonder how many of those actually crossed the border. They hit him 5 times. He's in the ICU here in Korea, but he actually managed to get across. I think this has happened twice before. And here's the reason Uni, my wife, explained to me that it's important. She said defectees or soldiers stationed at the JSA, they're handpicked. They're handpicked either for loyalty, or they're handpicked either because they're from families that have a lot of money, and they're handpicked. They pick people who will not do exactly what this guy did. And so it's pretty interesting to see people and it's also dangerous to defect there. So I'm surprised. She sounds like people are in Korea are suggesting that if there's a JSA soldier from the North Korean side defecting to South Korea, things may be getting really bad over there. Who knows? You got to be there to see it. It's crazy, how there must be pockets of North Korea where, and obviously, man, the whole country is not in shambles. But there must be pockets of North Korea where they let Americans go, where you just can't see, or foreigners go, Westerners, Americans included, where you just can't really tell what is going on, because there's a group like a couple in South Korea now. I got a video up about comparing North Korea to South Korea, and it's like, man, did you just chill in North Korea? Like what was it like there? And how is this not a bigger deal? Like how is this not on? People want to know the difference between the two Koreas. How is this not a bigger deal? How is it not on some news media or something like that, since North Korea is in the news now? But yeah, I was also talking to the college professor that I do conversational English with, and he explained that this guy is not gonna have like a normal life, like ever. Like he never stops getting watched. He never stops getting tailed or tracked. And he never goes off the government radar, because any North Korean soldiers that defect, they have to keep an eye on them. So I don't know, man. We've been talking about how North Korean defectees don't lead the life that they're not always as completely comfortable when it comes to South Korea as you would think. But I hope this guy's all right. I'm getting a visual of the movie at the scene at the end of that movie Platoon, where he's in Vietnam and they're like up on a chopper leaving old boy down there, and it's like getting shot over and over again, but he like won't stop running for the helicopter until he actually dies. I've ruined the end of that movie for you. The guy at the end, that guy dies. But that's what it reminds me of every time I read about what happened this weekend at the JSA, or this week at the JSA. So on to non-North Korea related news really quickly here. Should I do a break? Oh no, we got 2 articles and I'll do a break. So the Korean life-changing college exam is underway. It actually got delayed for a week because of the earthquake, to be honest. Like, they letting people kind of get things back together, but this is like a nationwide exam that happens, and you've probably heard about exam day if you followed life in South Korea already. Exam day is their college exams are these extremely stress-filled moments where they go and they like everything of what life will be from this point on is decided by this test. If you're trying to get into some of the sky universities, you have to score a certain amount on this test, and it's got to be high, dude, because everybody scores high on the exam. So it's like you have some people actually take this exam. If they don't get what they want, they just take a year off and then come back and take the exam again next year. The reason it's so stress filled, since everything kind of comes down to how they do on this test. Like their future life comes down to how they do on this test. Stress filled for the guys. They've been studying all this stuff all this time. They're already smart, but there's this. I remember hearing, I think I was watching on Bill Maher or something like that. I haven't watched Bill Maher in years, but he was talking about how, like, South Koreans, he was talking about a bunch of different countries, or 12 countries, that were asked how they would do on an exam. They're going to take an exam, and before the exam, people asked them how they thought they were going to do. And strangely, and then they compared those thoughts to the actual results of the exam. And strangely enough, America was the most optimistic of how they would do on the exam, and they got the lowest scores. Sounds like me. And actually, I test really well. And like the South Koreans had the lowest optimized. They're really pessimistic about how their scores would be, and they got the highest scores. And being American and being over here is like, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, I mean, the people are always more worried. They're always like, there's a little bit of self-doubt that goes into Korean students and Korean younger people. They're just so modest, and the ones that aren't modest kind of get, I don't know, they kind of get that drawn out of them, depending on depending on who they have around them. But yeah, really, really modest, and so they have this really pessimistic mentality going into the test. And I mean, that's not what you need when it's a test that is going to decide the rest of your life. So another thing that happens is, so it's actually pretty cool because everybody kind of rallies around them, all their family members, all their friends. They kind of cheer them on, and say, hey, go do good in this test, go do good in this exam. But if they don't do well, and I mean, again, like, don't do well, it's like if they don't get in like the top 96th percentile, I think it is. I don't know, it may be higher than that. They can't go where they want to go, and you see a lot of people. You see a lot of a rise in. You see a spike in suicides after these exams, because people's lives are young people who don't really have the foresight to see that life can still continue on after this exam doesn't go exactly the way it should go for you. They take their own lives, and so like this, if you have Korean friends or you have Korean family that are going to go through things like this, be sure to cheer them on and give them and console them, like not sparingly. I don't know how you say, like in abundance, if things don't go the way they wanted them to go. It's a really messed up system. And when I saw this article, the reason I jumped at it to talk about it is because I thought they were revamping the test. Because I really think Korea just focused too much. They put too much focus on this one test. There should be like other factors in what they do, but I don't know, into how they admit people to college and how they go about like validating someone's potential and learning ability. Just all that it seems pretty rough to have on one test, and this is the environment that you're in when that's the case. Hope these guys do well. Or I hope people take it. I hope this extra week actually gives somebody a little bit of extra time to go ahead and study. Otherwise, it's just and for some people, it's just delaying the freaking anxiety of going through this test. And last week, yet another topic that I don't want to be talking about every week, but we talked about the comfort women last week because South Korea actually invited one of the living comfort women to President Trump's dinner and introduced her to President Trump. But this is another thing. I mean, talk about Japan, that made Japan mad. They want to chime in because Japan, in their eyes, has already this has already been settled, quote unquote. But I did it over there. I'm gonna do it over here. Settled, quote unquote. But when I saw this, I had to talk about it because talk about doubling down. So the Comfort Women memorial statues, a thorn in Japan's side, now sit on Korean buses. So it's like statues of comfort women on Korean buses sitting. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing a statue of a comfort woman on a Korean bus sitting in one of the chairs. Talk about doubling down. The way Uni was explaining this to me, she was like, those lines where they have this are on the line that goes like past the Japanese embassy. And Moon Jae-in, President Moon here in Korea, is making it a point that he's not going to let this go. And this resolution that they came to with the former President Park Geun-hye was not what he is, in his eyes, not acceptable, and he's not going to let it go. So I just wanted to cover that really quick. All right, guys. So that's it for the actual articles. I'm gonna go into social media posts and upcoming events when I get back. I have just go ahead and chill and crack a beer and just hang out and go over those. It's kind of weird because a lot of social media posts are articles, so I'm not having a really good time separating this. I'll have to figure this out a little bit when I come back, or probably for next week. But I'm gonna go ahead. Take a break for a brief moment, check things out and make sure they're functioning well, and I will be right back. Catch you guys in a few. Welcome back. I guess I am back. Hope you guys are back too. Man, one of the things I want to do before I actually launch this webcast is I want to actually implement like more music. I've mentioned this before if you haven't caught the show before, but I want to get to the point where I'm actually just playing some, I don't know, like underground Korean hip hop, or not K-pop, but where I'm just playing some underground music to give them, so we can kind of give them some recognition, because there's some real like uh there's some real gifted people out there that don't get the recognition that K-pop bands get. And I don't know, man. One of them is this guy named 12 that I actually got. I should just get his whole album and actually start that playlist right quick. But it's gonna take me a few minutes to actually go ahead and do that. It ain't gonna take me no minutes, man. You don't know what it is. I have to like get back in editing mode, right? Like I have to get back in this mode where I'm just like working on the thing, working on the stuff all the time, man. And once I do that, once I start it, you'll see me like not stop. You'll just see a bunch of stuff change with the podcast, and yeah, that just needs to happen. So I am gonna jump into chat now, and then we're gonna jump on the next big thing here. And this is made after I went in and read the article. I don't know how. I was on the wrong side of the mic. I don't know how viable this claim is, and if you've been in Korea for an extended period of time, you're probably aware of that. It's kind of a big deal. They're thinking, or there's a petition to the presidential office to legalize marijuana. That is a big, like, if you've been here in Korea, you've interacted with people. Watch how I word this. So if you've been in Korea and you've heard of any interactions with marijuana in Korea, particularly if you're from like Europe where marijuana is legal, or the US where marijuana is becoming more and more legal, you realize they treat marijuana like it's just narcotics. There is no differentiation between marijuana and other drugs. So if you get caught with an ounce of marijuana, it's like getting caught with an ounce of like blow. Like it's like a real drug. And what used to happen, I'm not sure if it's this way anymore, because I'm a little older now, and I don't I'm not running with the same illustrious crew that I miss, but we're still like degenerates in their own way. Great people, but degenerates in their own special way. They always had like one little thing that they were doing that was just like a little like, you gotta be careful, man. But like when you get busted for marijuana in Korea, it's like a drug bust, man. Like to compare, the last time I was in the States, I was walking down the street with my buddy Richard, right? And Richard, nobody knows who he is right now, so I can say his name. But we were walking down the street. I was still in the Army. This isn't the last time I was in the States, but this was some time ago. I was still in the Army, and we were walking down the street in like the east side of San Bernardino. And as he was pulling a blunt out of his pocket, I'm like, man, you gonna smoke that? Like just walking down the street? And he was like, yeah, man, why? You see where we are? Nobody cares if you spark up walking down the street right now. I said, okay. I had been here for 5 years. So I was like, okay, I forgot it was like that here. But then as soon as he sparked up his blunt, all you heard was whoop, and like a cop pulled around the corner. That probably was not good in you guys' ears. But a cop pulled around the corner, and they pulled us over. And I was like, oh man, are you serious? So the cop knew Richard, knew he was on probation, knew he wasn't supposed to be smoking because he's on probation. And as I'm sitting there stammering, because I'm still in the Army, I can't afford to like acquire any court dates or anything like that because I'm just on leave. So I'm starting to explain myself, and the cop is looking at me like, where'd you pick up this like square? I don't want to say square, but where'd you pick up this dude? Where'd this dude from? And so in the end, they just took Richard's blunt and told him like he can't be walking around out there like that because he's gonna get himself in trouble. And they drove away. That's California. That's California for you. Like, I've applied to jobs where it asks if you have any felonies, and then it says if there's any felonies related to weed and you're from California, Colorado, Seattle, and a couple of other country or states, then it tells you like don't list them because they don't matter there. So it's pretty crazy to come over here in Korea. So in contrast, when somebody gets busted for marijuana in Korea, you'll get like a random text from their phone, right? And they'll say like, "Yo, I just got caught up. Don't answer any text from this phone." And so they say like, delete my number XYZ. And then the next thing you know, you'll start getting more texts from that number trying to get a hold of you and get you caught up in like a drug bust. And it's like, and that's the way, I don't know if it's like that now. I don't know if it's as bad now, but that's the way it used to be. And it's crazy. And you're just like, wow, man, this is like, this is like, if you were getting something like that in the States, you would like, you'd panic because you were like, man, the feds are actually trying to get me caught up. Like, I can't do anything. But you wouldn't worry because what would you do that would, like in the States, what would you do that would make it a big deal? Well, in Korea, you'd smoke a little bit of weed and then you'd go to jail and be in trouble. And they'd be trying to get you to like get the big weed kingpin that is bringing in all this marijuana. So it's a big deal over here. And I go into all that. I'm sorry, give me one quick minute. I'll just talk about weed. It's making me thirsty. But I go into all that to kind of give you the layout, the landscape here. Like it's seriously illegal. So the person who started this petition, he's actually anonymous, or he started it as an anonymous. You know, he didn't leave his name or whatever. But he said he's in his mid-20s. He's on probation because he was caught for possession, and so he started this petition and kind of explained that, you know, I came across marijuana when I was in the States, and I was in a state where it was legal, and XYZ. And then he gave like the history of marijuana and talked about the medical benefits of it and the recreation, the lack of downside to the recreational use of it. And he went into how it was abruptly abolished here in Korea in 1977 by Park Geun-hye's father, Park Chung-hee. Oh, I might have said that wrong. And he's just saying there wasn't that much consideration put into it to actually decide whether or not to legalize. It was just done right away because it was definitely not what the country needed at that time. The last thing it needed was like weed smokers in the 70s, man. That just wouldn't have been very helpful for what Korea was going through back then. So yeah, this was an eye-opening petition. I would be interested in seeing where this goes. Actually, it's got a few signatures on it. Check out the site. Check out the link in the description if you want to know more. On to speaking of knowing what goes on in countries that when you're in foreign countries. Like, so knowing, here's the deal. So some British men were sentenced for graffiti on Seoul trains. You know, I don't know how long they were sentenced for. But it's pretty crazy to see them being sentenced. Okay, I'm sorry. So let me jump on because I didn't even know. I meant to come back and read this article, and I got caught up actually jumping in and getting the site or getting the actual show set up. So let me jump in and read that in a few minutes. We'll come back to that one. Korea's ranked number 2 in Lonely Planet's best in travel in 2018. I don't know. I know of Lonely Planet because of people who tell me they heard about this place on Lonely Planet. And if you're sitting there, it's pretty cool to see Korea ranked number 2 in Lonely Planet because I just like to see Korea doing well, man. Love this place. I've been telling people how awesome it is for a long time. They thought I was bullshitting. So like, and it's funny. I see the two pictures that you're seeing there. This is was it Bukchon Hanok Village and Seoul 2007. Is it 2017? So like, or Seoul 2017. And so, like, these are both like locations that I would say they're in walking distance. I don't think I would walk to Bukchon Hanok Village, but last time I was walking around just bored, I stumbled upon Seoul. Like, I just kind of ended up there and said, oh, they actually got all this referred now. So it's like this elevated park, quote unquote, where it used to be like an overpass for like traffic going across to the other side of Seoul. They went ahead and remodeled that and made that like this walking drive. But the thing is, in Seoul, since the city seems so big when you're at ground level, but what's really going on, like, it's like geographically, it's just not that big. So everything is so close. Even the stuff that's far away is just it's really close. It just takes a long time to get there. You just have to go through a lot to get there. And so you got all these attractions right here in Seoul. I breached over, or I briefly went over Pukchon Hanok village over there, but Pukchon Hanok Mall is like, it's just like this old, like everything's kind of reserved, I guess, there. And so like the zoning doesn't allow like building of modern villages there or modern buildings there. So they just like have like these old village style homes, and it's like this nice little street that goes down, and you can see that it's on a hill, bit of a hill. You can see into Seoul, and that's the shot you see there, looking at Seoul Tower from there. I actually went over there with a couple of friends of ours, the Harrises, and we had a pretty decent time there. Uni wasn't even there, like drinking sangria on the top of the hill, or whatever we was drinking, like wine aid on top of the hill. It was pretty chill, man. Great weather, great time to go. And it's cool because they do these things where if you dress up in a hanbok, the traditional Korean wear, you get into a lot of places free. So there's a few palaces right there around Bukchon Hanok village too, and it's right by Insadong. So I mean, I don't know, you can get some pretty. It's a nice way, a nice little location. Excuse my chair, but a nice little location where you can kind of experience a lot in a relatively small little geographical area. Why is this? Oh, that's not good. I'm over here trying to like on the sly look up what's going on with the British guys in Graffiti, and I can't, because even the article that I had sitting there as a placeholder is wrong. That is frustrating. How did I do that? I might have overshot again with the content. I don't care. I'm gonna overshoot with the content, and then we'll find our happy medium eventually, man. We're just gonna kind of just go through and just knock stuff out. So here's something that's pretty interesting that made me laugh at first, but extreme Korean moms are molding their babies' skulls to make them more beautiful. So they're like, they put like what you're seeing here is a picture of a child in a hat in a helmet that's going to make his skull, like, since babies' skulls are soft when they're younger, they're going to mold his skull to make it I don't know, more symmetrical. My mom used to do this though, man. Like, my mom didn't use a helmet, but my mom would tell me, even when my son was born, she would tell me, no, you gotta rub his head, you gotta rub his head to make sure his head grows in nicely. And I would tell my wife, hey man, rub his head. I don't know what my mom's talking about, but you should know, you're a mom. You should just go through and do the same thing. And like, I got like a little small peanut head, so I would think, I don't know, my mom told me that's what she did. I said that's what it worked. Look at my brother, he got a big old head. I'm like, you must not have done it with him, because you just got a little lazier with the second one. Dan, if you hear this, I'm sorry. But your head is just, our heads are shaped differently is all I'm saying. And like, if she molded mine to be like a little peanut head, she molded yours to be like a big boulder head. In any case, I thought it works, but Uni's like, this is nonsense. It doesn't work. Science, like, I don't know. She always say science proved something. You know how long it would take to prove that molding somebody's skull doesn't work? What did they do? Did they go and follow kids like from the moment that they were babies to, it at least takes like 15 years, 20 years, right? To see if their head grows and does whatever it's gonna do. They say it doesn't work. You can put a helmet on your baby all you want, but his head's gonna grow the way his genes tell it to grow anyway. But this is the least I see of, they say extreme Korean moms. This is the least I see of Korean moms. Korean mothers, from my experience, like they almost cease to exist when their children are born. Like their whole lives kind of like slowly wither away because they're preparing them to take that test that I was telling you about. But they just pour so much into the children. And these days, in this heavily cosmetic centered, or like this culture that's focused on looks, I'm not surprised that Korean parents are doing everything they can to make sure their child is beautiful, or as beautiful as it can be, because to be honest, it matters a lot here in Korea. And so I remember reading articles or looking at the job application process and seeing that you have to put a picture of yourself on your job application, and that is part of the application. And just the way people treat people who are better looking. I mean, that's everywhere. Like, people are kind of superficial in nature, but it's real. It gets like the culture, or like it's structural here in Korea. So like, if you're bad looking, you'll hear people like kind of say like, if you were better looking, you'd be able to do X, Y, Z. I mean, it's more on the surface in Korea. I think it's like in the United States. And the United States is slowly getting to this point where they're like, oh, be who you want to be. Woo woo. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're heavy. You can, even if you're plus size, you can be a model and stuff like that. The United States is slowly getting to that point, but Korea is, they are not. They are not following quickly on that. I think marijuana will be more legalized. Marijuana will be legalized in Korea before you get plus size models. So it's just interesting. Actually, there is a plus size model, quote unquote, that is just like a pretty Korean chick with like super huge boobs, and they're like, she's plus size, but she's like really thin. So like, maybe, I don't know, maybe slowly but surely they'll find their way there. Thank God thank God I ain't got to put my kid in a helmet. His head's like mine. Here's another thing that is very, very interesting, very weird, man. A glimpse into South Korea's hidden camera hunters. Like, South Korea has hidden camera hunters. Like, they actually go out and hunt for hidden cameras. Like, hidden cameras are such a problem that they actually have to employ people to go out and look for them. And it's pretty weird because what you're seeing here, of course, is a lady in the bathroom looking for a hidden camera where the toilet tissue goes. Who's putting hidden cameras right there? Like, and like, as technology gets like nano and nano, people are gonna do some weird stuff, man. Like, who wants to just record somebody using the bathroom? I guess there's gonna be some weird people out there. I don't even want to get there was a point in time where I was gonna start talking about, I could understand putting it in and then list all the different places, but that would give you more information about me than you need. I started thinking about it, like, people are gonna really think that women doing those. Yeah, I don't even want to go into it. You'd think I was weird if I started listing off all those places, so I'm not gonna do it. But feel free to list it in the comments. Like, if you say you understand putting a hidden camera in XYZ, feel free to go ahead, man. I'm curious where you guys will put a hidden camera if no bets were off. If it was 100% sure, 100%, 0% chance of getting caught, where would you put a hidden camera? I don't even want to think about it. Nowhere. That's what we're supposed to say. All this sexual harassment stuff going on. And I want to strike all that from the record. With all this sexual harassment stuff going on, that's not something you want to say. Don't put that in the comments, because it's going to be in the news and you're going to be the new Harvey Weinstein if you put that in there. So, okay. All right. On to upcoming events. So, I am still struggling with these guys, man. I'm still struggling with upcoming events. Not just because, I don't know, if it's because, again, I don't have the inlets. And I keep saying I'm going to like go track some down. And every time I sit down and try to track them down, it doesn't really work. Like, I just can't find them. I will say one thing though. We went and watched Thor this weekend or last weekend. We went and watched Thor on Friday. Friday was a good day, man. I went and hung out at iPark Mall here in Yongsan. But we went and watched Thor. Okay, I'm gonna do something stupid. I'm gonna rearrange things and knock something down, I bet, or make a bunch of noise that you guys don't need to hear. And I was actually able to get my ticket to Thor for free. And so I was trying to get it out of uni. Like, wait, no, you gotta tell me. Like, she's like, your ticket's free. Like, why is it free? She's like, cause you're VIP. Like, I'm a VIP. She says, yeah. Well, how? I don't watch that many movies. I can't be a CGV VIP. And we've been watching movies at Lotte since iPark Mall has been closed. Like, how am I a VIP? She's like, cause of your phone. Like, dude, you have to give me more information. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how am I a VIP because of my phone? And it turns out that if you get your phone, 2 years ago, I actually went and got, I wanted to do something on my phone that I couldn't do because I got my phone from an entity on base. And what that entity does, or what that company does, is they register your phone under them, and they don't. So if they register your phone under them, they don't have to put your foreign registration number. And here's the deal: most people on base who work on base, the vast majority don't have an alien registration number here in Korea. So what I did was I went and got my alien registration card, and I actually canceled out that phone service, and I was just gonna switch it over, but they wouldn't allow me to switch it over. So I had to get a new phone. I was gonna get that that LG G6. Is that LG? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get the G6, man. Deactivated my phone. I was like, all right, give me the G6. And didn't dawn on me until we were already until they already deactivated my phone that the G6 doesn't come out for a week. And so that's how I ended up with my iPhone. I love my iPhone though. In any case, since I've gotten this iPhone, I've been paying my bill on time. I've paid off the machine, and doing stuff like that actually gives you it gives you points. And then once you accumulate a certain amount of points, you get VIP status. And that doesn't mean every movie is free, but the one I just watched last time was free. And so I guess I have these points saved up, and Uni's telling me to use them because they actually do expire. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have your phone in your name with your alien registration card registered on your alien registration number, you probably have a lot of benefits that you aren't using. Or that's just me. I'm just the only idiot who does stuff and signs up for stuff and doesn't read the fine print and doesn't find out about what's going on. What I'm going to do is go through and again, draw all that information out of Uni and get her to explain to me how that works and share that with you guys. And we'll also share the whole alien registration card acquisition process. Those of you who are here going to school or teaching English or working in a Korean company, you already have that. But there's people that are on base, if you're here active duty and visiting, or if you're here if you're here active duty and you're only going to be here for a year, or if you're here as I am as a government employee, that's not a requirement to be here. We use our actual issued ID card, government ID cards, to do stuff. So it's best to have both. In any case, that's I don't even know why I went off on that tangent, but I did. So all right, so upcoming events, I'm gonna get these designed too. Uni's taking a Photoshop class, so she's gonna design real cool stuff that you can look at. So since I don't have that many upcoming events, I just ran through Facebook really quickly and pointed out some that I wanted to share with you guys. And so this one sticks out because I've seen different people in Facebook talk about how they want to meet more vegetarians and vegans because the environment has gotten a lot better for vegetarians and vegans here in Seoul, particularly here in Seoul, and I would imagine in other places in Korea. But it's still not that great. It's still not a lot of places you can go eat. If you are a vegetarian and vegan, if you're vegan, I'm not really sure if this works, but go to the Buddhist monk dinners. They're a little expensive, but it's it's a 12-course dinner where they bring you something. It's all vegetarian. There's no meat, and when I went there and ate there, I actually went to one in Insadong. When I went and ate there, I don't really. Usually, when I eat a vegetarian meal, I feel like I didn't eat correctly, or I'm hungry in 20 minutes. When I ate there, it was delicious, man. I've been trying to go back there ever since. I just haven't scheduled out. I haven't gone out to go. They also had a live performance that was pretty awesome too. I got another link to another restaurant, by the way, that I don't have a link to the one in Insadong, but I do have a link to one near Coex Mall. I will share that on the Seoulweaver's Facebook group, so be sure to join that Seoulweaver's Facebook group, man, because that's where I share my stuff. That's where I come back and say, oh, I said I was going to share this. I'll share it with you guys. By the way, oh no. So anyway, this is happening at the Plant Kitchen, I believe. There's only a few people interested, and there's 6 going, and I don't know how many that is interested. I can't really see the link. It's too far away, but there aren't that many vegetarians here and vegans here, even though the number is increasing. Not a lot, man. So those are kind of, to me, they strike me as high numbers, considering that I very rarely run into a lot of people who are vegan or vegetarian. In fact, I may have seen the person that's organizing this. I may have actually seen her post looking for other vegans and vegetarians, and this may be her answer to the responses that she got. Going on to the next one. This is an event at Vineworks. It's Grapes of Wrath, and it's this Spanish wine, and comparing Spanish wine. I wanted to plug this because I want to plug the owner actually Vineworks is located in, is it near Sungsu Station? The address is right there, but it's like right there by Sungsu Hongdae area. And Vineworks is a pretty cool place, man. And the guy who owns it, Ian, is a real cool dude. He's British, and he does events like every Friday, every Saturday almost. He's always doing an event at Vineworks, and they're usually pretty great. The last few I've been to have been like super packed, so he gets a decent turnout. But I'm not sure how consistent that is. So if you want to go over there, if you like wine, he's a great person to talk to. He's not a wine connoisseur snob that like talks down to people who don't know nothing about wine, because I don't. But I love wine. I'm starting to fall in love with it over time. Wife is starting to fall in love with that, and whiskey, which is not cheap. And I mean, Vineworks is a great place to go and have a great wine experience and have a lot of fun, and even get some food and things like that at the same time. So they do something like every Friday. So I'll always share what they're doing again in the Seoulweavers Facebook group. And this last one, 10-minute play festival. Like, this is like the 7th annual, I guess. I don't know if it's the 7th annual. The Seoul Players 7th 10-minute play festival. And even Uni is interested in this one. I'm kind of surprised to see that. I guess they good together. They got a bunch of plays. It's like a 10-minute play that they do, and they got a bunch of submissions. And they get all those submissions and whittle them down to like 16. And they put this play festival on. I actually think a friend of the show, her name is Kate. She runs that girl Kate Carter, and I believe Kate is actually in one of these episodes or in one of these plays. So she runs a blog called That Girl Carter, I believe, and I don't know, she seems like she would be really good in a play. She's pretty animated, so I really do want to check this out. I'll find her YouTube link or her YouTube channel and link that up in the description as well. So that's the last event that I have. I'm gonna go ahead and jump out of here, guys. A little warm. I can actually hear the family back running around in back behind me now. I'm gonna get out of here. So thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next week, next Thursday. Hopefully a little earlier. Starting at 8:30 is a little bit later than what I want to, but I do want to get the stuff ready for you guys. We're eventually gonna get the podcast like really up and running, like real, man. Like actually gonna have the guests in house or in like in the actual studio. Again, I changed it so we can have more people here, sit down. Even I have my neighbors come and jump on, and we can kind of talk about these topics together, because we do have some interesting topics when we're all kind of just sitting here talking about things. I mean, there is a lot of insight that I would love to get you guys to share with. The thing is, man, people shy. I don't blame them. It is. I went back and listened to one of my old podcasts, like one of the first ones that I did, and I was like, God, man, I was really, really, really nervous. Like I was wondering why people were telling me I was nervous. I get it now. Hopefully, in like 6 months, I come back and listen to this episode of this podcast, and I feel the same way. So that's all I got. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Thanks so much for checking this out. If you have friends who want to know what it's like or what foreign life in Korea is like, please be sure to share this with them, because we are going to get a lot of feedback from other foreigners here. And we're going to really focus on like coming over and teaching English, how you get over here to do that, coming over here and going to school, how you get over here to do that, and transitioning from those two things into working and living here. If you get over here, find you like it and want to stay. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, be sure to subscribe. If it sounds like something that you got some friends that might be interested in, be sure to tell them about the show or tell them about the channel, and share it with them on social media, Facebook, anywhere else. All right, I'm gonna stop blapping. I'll holler at you guys next week. Until then, stay interlaced. See, if I had somebody to actually like direct the show, then they could just go in and do their thing and like start the music, and then I can just like fade out. But it's not quite the case that we got here. So I'm gonna slowly go back to the open and then play the music and find it myself. We'll get there. See you guys next week.